According to psychology, people who never ask anyone for help are often praised for being strong, independent, and capable. You are the person who says, "I've got it," even when your hands are shaking under the weight. You solve problems quietly, carry responsibilities without complaint, and disappear into another room before anyone notices you are struggling. But this kind of independence is not always confidence. Sometimes it is a survival pattern built so early that needing someone now feels more dangerous than exhaustion. You may not even realize how automatic it has become. Someone offers to help, and your first response arrives before you have time to think. "No, it's fine." Your chest tightens. Your mind starts calculating what you will owe them, how they might judge you, or whether they will let you down halfway through. So you smile, take the burden back into your own hands, and convince yourself it is easier this way. And in many cases, psychology suggests there are deeper reasons behind that reaction. 1. You learned to anticipate your own needs before anyone else could ignore them. When you were younger, help may not have arrived consistently. Perhaps the adults around you were overwhelmed, emotionally unavailable, unpredictable, or dealing with problems of their own. You learned to read the room before speaking. You noticed the tired face, the sharp tone, the silence behind a closed door. Instead of asking for comfort, you adjusted. Instead of saying, "I need something," you became the child who needed very little. This is how self-reliance can become a form of emotional intelligence. You became skilled at preparing in advance. You remembered what others forgot. You solved problems before they became visible. You learned how to make yourself useful, organized, and easy to manage. People may have called you mature for your age, but maturity was not always a choice. Sometimes it was the only way to feel safe in an environment where your needs seemed inconvenient. Now, as an adult, you may still live as if support could disappear at any moment. You keep backup plans for your backup plans. You save information, money, energy, and emotional distance. You rarely relax completely, because some part of you is always preparing for the moment when you will have to handle everything alone. You do not ask for help because your nervous system still remembers what it felt like to wait for someone who never came. But learning to meet your own needs explains only part of it. It does not explain why receiving help can make you feel uncomfortable, guilty, or strangely exposed. That reaction often comes from a second trait. 2. You may experience help as a hidden debt. When someone does something for you, your mind does not always register generosity. It starts keeping score. You wonder what they will expect in return, whether they will mention it later, or whether accepting support gives them power over you. Even a small favor can feel heavy. A lift home, a borrowed object, or a simple act of kindness may create a pressure inside you that says, "Now I owe them." This can happen when support in the past came with conditions. Perhaps kindness was followed by criticism. Perhaps gifts were later used as evidence that you were ungrateful. Maybe affection disappeared when you disappointed someone. You learned that receiving was rarely free. There was always a price, even if nobody said it aloud. So you became more comfortable giving than receiving because giving allowed you to stay in control. You are often the first person others call in a crisis. You listen patiently, fix practical problems, offer advice, and make people feel safe. Yet when your own life begins to collapse, you become quiet. You tell yourself that everyone is busy. You minimize what you're going through. You wait until the storm has passed before mentioning that it ever happened. Supporting others feels natural because it keeps you valuable. Being supported feels vulnerable because it requires you to be seen without being useful. And this leads to the third reason you rarely ask for help. 3. You associate vulnerability with risk. Asking for help means admitting that you do not have complete control. It means allowing someone to see the unfinished, frightened, uncertain version of you. For many people, this is normal human connection. But for you, it may feel like opening a locked door and standing aside while someone walks into a room. You have spent years hiding. You may fear that once people see how tired you are, they will think less of you. You may believe that competence is the reason people respect you. So you maintain the image. You keep answering messages. You keep showing up. You keep saying, "I'm fine," while your mind feels like a house with every alarm sounding at once. The performance of strength becomes so convincing that even the people closest to you stop asking whether you need anything. Psychology, sometimes, connects this pattern to avoidant attachment and defensive self-sufficiency. This does not mean you do not want closeness. In fact, you may want it deeply. But closeness requires trust, and trust means accepting the possibility that someone could disappoint you. So you choose the familiar pain of carrying everything alone over the uncertain risk of depending on someone else. The problem is that independence can slowly become isolation. At first, it feels powerful. You do not need permission. You do not wait for rescue. You know how to survive difficult days. But over time, the same armor that protects you from disappointment also prevents care from reaching you. People may assume you prefer distance because you never show them where the door is. 4. You may believe your needs are less important than everyone else's. You can recognize exhaustion in another person immediately, but ignore it in yourself. You tell others to rest while pushing through your own pain. You encourage friends to ask for support, yet feel embarrassed when you need the same thing. Somewhere along the way, you may have learned that love was earned by being helpful, calm, productive, or emotionally undemanding. This is why you may apologize when you're struggling. You say, "Sorry to bother you," before asking a simple question. You explain yourself excessively. You prepare an entire case for why your need is reasonable. Even then, you may withdraw the request if the other person hesitates for one. Second, you're not simply being polite. You are protecting yourself from the shame of feeling like a burden. But your needs do not become less real because you hide them well. A body can only carry tension for so long before it begins speaking through sleepless nights, headaches, irritability, numbness, or sudden exhaustion. The mind that says, "Keep going," may be powerful, but it is not limitless. Strength without recovery eventually becomes survival on repeat. 5. Your independence is both a gift and an armor. It has helped you endure situations that might have broken someone else. You know how to stay calm when things go wrong. You can make decisions under pressure. You can rebuild without an audience. You possess a rare ability to stand on your own feet when life becomes unstable. These are real strengths, and they deserve to be recognized. But a strength becomes a prison when you are no longer allowed to choose when to use it. True independence is not refusing support at all. Costs. It is knowing that you can survive alone without believing you must. Real strength is not carrying every box yourself. Sometimes it is allowing someone to take one end and trusting that they will not drop it. This does not mean you need to reveal everything at once. You do not have to hand your entire story to someone who has not earned your trust. Healing can begin with something smaller, asking for advice, accepting a favor without immediately returning it, saying, "Actually, I'm having a difficult week," instead of automatically saying you're fine. Letting another person witness one imperfect moment without rushing to hide it. At first, this may feel unnatural. Your body may resist it. You may feel guilty, exposed, or weak. But that discomfort does not mean you're doing something wrong. It may simply mean you're doing something new. You are teaching your nervous system that support can exist without control, punishment, or debt. You are learning that dependence and helplessness are not the same thing. Here's what this means. If you never ask anyone for help, it does not mean you are cold, proud, or incapable of connection. It may mean you became capable too early. You learned to protect yourself before you had the language to explain what you were protecting yourself from. You became the reliable one, the calm one, the person who could always handle more. But you were never meant to be strong every minute of your life. You were never meant to earn care through exhaustion, and you were never born without needs. You may have simply learned far too young that expressing them did not always feel safe. Your independence is proof of what you survived, but it does not have to define how you live forever. You are allowed to remain capable and still be cared for. You are allowed to be dependable and still lean on someone. You are allowed to put the armor down without losing the strength underneath it. If you are the person who always says, "I'll handle it," even when you secretly wish someone would notice, leave a shield emoji in the comments so others like you know they are not alone. And subscribe if you want to understand the hidden psychology behind the person you became. Because sometimes the traits you're most proud of began as ways to survive.